this 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, and in this video we're going to be doing the rear shocks, the rear ABS sensors, the rear brakes, pads, and rear rotors. So kind of revamping all this rear end, kind of like we did the front end. So we'll go ahead and just throw this thing up on jack stands and get these tires off. Alright guys, got the tire off here and got it on jack stands. First thing I'm going to do is get this caliper off. So it takes a 7mm Allen head, and it's going to go right back in between. There's two bolts, one here and one at the bottom, and they're covered up with these little caps. You can just pop them off and you're going to be able to get right back here to it. Now in the same instance, once I get this off, and I may have to go back and see if I can work this off without having to push the caliper, but I'll just basically work it back and forth to get it off, and then I'm just gonna lay it to the side, and I got my 18 mil ready to get this caliper bracket off. So there's one bolt here and that bolt down at the bottom. What that's gonna do is let that caliper bracket go, and then I'm gonna be able to get this rear rotor off. Alright guys, so the bracket's off. You did say, I forgot to mention, you have to pull that clip out of the brake. So pull that off, and that's going to let that go free. I just got it draped to the side right now. I was able to pull the rotor off, and I noticed when I did, part of the brake shoe came off. So I am going to suggest that they replace the brake shoes in this. But they're also out of adjustment, so it's not grabbing the amount that it should, because there was no drag on the rotor as it came off. Another thing I went ahead and did is also, I should note, someone's been in here and they layered the anti-seize to these bolts. Typically anti-seize is always a good idea on stuff, but too much of it I've never been a fan of. Plus those have torque specs, so I wouldn't go too wild on the antifreeze on those and torque them to the right spec, because there's a lot of times that those can work their way back out if not correct. But moving on, right here, where you see my finger in this hole, that is where the ABS sensor was, which looks like this fellow right here. And he took an 8mm to get it off. Now, there was a clip right here to the side, you can tell, and this bracket split apart. That took a 10mm and took that bolt out, which let me take these clips loose all the way back through, and has essentially got that ABS sensor ready to be removed. Now, like I said, in this job, I also have this rear shock to replace. So these bolts right here, a 15mm is going to take those off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and you'll see me take this shock off, remove it, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the new one, put it in, and run those back down. Alright guys, got the shock back on, no big deal. I did go ahead and went under there and undone all that for the ABS, which I'll show you as I reinstall it, because we're going to have to get into the back seat to actually get to the plug. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, if you watch the front end movie or a video, I'm going to break his bleeder loose, put my hose on it, so the fluid that when I push this piston back in, and what I'll do is use my brake piston push tool and the old flat pad right here. And what we'll do is push that piston back. The old fluid will push out into here, and we won't be potentially blowing out anything or putting old dirty fluid back into the system. So that is a 3/8. I believe it's 3/8. Get my Yep, so 3/8 fits it. Crack that loose enough to where I can get a wrench on it, and then we'll push this caliper back, or piston back. All right, guys, I want to stop right there. You see me adjusting the adjuster on it? So clockwise spreads them out, counterclockwise takes them in. So what I did was spread them out until I couldn't get this rotor on, and then I cranked them back in while sliding this on, and you'll hear it dragging. That's exactly where I want it to be, is just barely grabbing. And so what that'll do is give us a good e-brake pull on the inside, and it'll help get this customer by until they're able to afford the new parking brakes. So what I'm gonna do now is clean my greasy paw prints off this here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and grab a lug nut and run it down to hold my rotor in place while I go and round up the new pads and some brake lube. All right, that one's on there. Next thing I need to do is I got to go and clean up this guy. You see he's greasy and stuff. See me take that fiber brush. I'll do the same thing to this. I got my brake pads here. They came from Auto Shack. Here's the part number. I don't recommend these. Their customer service sucks. But anyways, grab our first pad, which is I got the clip to go inside the piston. And all I'm going to do here is take some of this brake lube, which is all but used up. I'm going to go get some more. Done a lot of brake jobs. And I'm just going to put it here a little bit around where it's going to come in contact with the piston. And then I'm going to put just a little bit here where it's going to come in contact with the slide. And the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead, slap this guy back in. Just like so. Now with that in, I'm going to take this same lube, and right here where the brake pads go slide, I'm going to go ahead and put some of that onto those slide locations, being sure not to get it on the rotor itself, because that's a bad situation. So what I do is I'm just going to put it here on the ends and actually let the brake pad itself push in what it needs. So by what I mean by that is this very end right here, I'm just going to dab it on the end, and the brake pad end itself, which you'll see here in a second, will pull in what it needs. You don't want to gob it on there because it can cause you an issue. Now you'll get this pad that goes to the outside, and always what I do on it is, again, I'll just take and barely coat these slides like so. Then I'm just going to slide him in, and you see what I said, it'll take the grease it needs in with it, and the pad comes in contact long before the grease will ever come into play, I should say. Then on the back, right where the caliper hits, I just give it a light coating. Alrighty, then we'll grab this guy and sit him right over. Slide him on in the back, because again, remember, we still got to line up in the back. Alrighty. Now, I need to get my caliper bolts, those Allen head ones, out. So I'm just going to kind of unscrew those until I can get them to pull out enough to get a set of pliers on them. All right, got one out and two out. Now, those guys are out. Same thing. Get some brake lube and put it here on the slide. Go around it. It don't have to be slobbed on there. Just enough to where the caliper can slide. Put him back in. And just run it down snug, because we got to torque all this steel. We haven't torqued anything. I haven't torqued the bracket bolt, the bracket which I put in off camera because I was cleaning it. I actually mounted it there for a second to be able to clean it. Just run that down till it hits snug like so, and grab this other one. Do the same thing, get it all covered up there with grease. A big claw bear, it's got to go. All right, now we slide it in and line it up. Now, what I'll go ahead and do is torque. So right now, the torque we got to do, bracket bolts, we're going to take those to, the torque is like, I believe anywhere from like 66 to 85. So I'm going to take these up to, let's say 80, just because of that anti-seize that was on them. These guys here, 21 foot-pounds on those Allen head bolts. And then back here on the shock, 65 foot-pounds on those two. So let's get the torque. Alright guys, got my hands cleaned up here, wanted to show you. Once you get inside the vehicle, you can pull your rear seat up. Take your your lug wrench and stuff out of the holders. You got one 10 mil bolt holding here, and then you can pull this carpet out from underneath of this carpet. Now on this one, it's one of the few I've worked on that's actually still all original. I actually just took and sliced a little bit up the side there. You'll never see it. And what that did was allow me to get access back to the two rear ABS sensors. So you can see you got one right here, which I've already popped the plug out underneath, and then the one right over there. They've got the red safety clips that you just push in like so, and then we'll be able to pull that out. So I can't set the camera up in here, but you can also, I'll show you, that's for your parking brake. And then that's one of your body modules here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get both of these cables replaced in here so I can pack all this back up inside and have it straightened up so I don't have to get ungreased again to be able to work on the inside. Alright guys, just want to show you what it looked like together. There's that 10 mil bolt back in. See where that cut was? I got the tire wrenches back in and all the carpet laid back down. Those plugs are in, and then that's it. I mean, there you go, case closed. So now we're gonna go back to here, and one thing I did do off camera, I did put that spring back on, which these ears just go in, bend it out, and push it in. So now we are good there. I went ahead and I ran that cable. You can see all those connections back through there. They go right through and up to up underneath. You can see the other cable hanging down there. Then they're going to run back through here, and then you get the option. You can either take and reuse the old one, which I think I'm just going to pry it up, push this new one down, and then I'll show you where it's going to come in and around. It follows right back down through here, and it actually, before, get you focused in here, before it ran under and straight down. Tilt it down here. Ran right into here. A little bit of a snug fit going in. Like so. Slides right in. And then we can put that 8mm bolt back in. And of course, it's not going to take a lot of force to put that in. Usually what I do is run it down finger tight and it's snug. And then because it's plastic, I'll give it maybe like a 1/8 of a turn. And we'll be done with this side. That 10mm bolt's back in. Everything's all hooked up. Everything's good to go. Now what I'll do is it's torqued down. Another thing I'll show you that I found when I was working is, see the movement in that sway bar? This piece here is bad. So I'll go ahead and let the customer know that that's bad. As you've seen, we've done a ton of work on this, but yeah, it's just the thing, you know, older vehicle, getting wore. So I'm sure that these bushings and all these arms are probably shot, I would imagine. Get in there and I'll show you. Yep, it's going to. So I'll make this recommendation, but we'll see. Now I'll just go on the other side, do everything I just did, and I'll show you through the time lapse. Alright guys, show you. So right there is where they came out of the vehicle. Then you see they clamp on, clamp on, clamp on. And then of course that's where they go out underneath the vehicle right here. Then come around and you see it going in to the backing plate. So they just run up underneath the center there. So a little bit different than your typical vehicle, but I guess they ran as much as they could on the interior of the vehicle because of, I'm assuming maybe off-roadness, or they knew this thing was going to rust out. But this one here is in pretty decent shape, honestly. Just some scale, nothing major, no huge holes, but muffler's looking pretty ragged. Alright guys, so that's going to be everything on this one. If you have any questions, comments, drop them down below. I always try to get to them. We'll throw this tire on, get this thing back on the road, take it for a drive. But until next time, hit that subscribe button and go follow me on Instagram at MustangJackson67 so we can make this channel even better. But until next time, let's keep building.